Now, flying has long become routine for many people, but even frequent flyers sometimes don't know about things you should never do on a plane. Ooh. No bare feet on a plane. It's one of the biggest no-nos of air travel. Even if we omit the topic of unpleasant odors. Phew. The airplane floor is extremely filthy. People with contagious foot problems might have been walking the aisles barefoot before you. There's likely to be a lot of dirt left after previous passengers. And don't even get me started on the floor in the lavatories. Ew. If your feet need some freedom, take off your shoes, but at least wear your socks, or bring along a pair of light slippers. Keep in mind that the pressurized air in the passenger cabin is just as dry as it is in the Sahara Desert, with only about 20% humidity. That's why your skin may feel discomfort after a flight. But wouldn't it make more sense to install several humidifiers that could add some moisture? But this extra load would cost airlines lots of money. Plus, the plane's airframe is mostly made of aluminum and other metals, and humid air could lead to corrosion. So, don't forget to bring a moisturizer and use it during the flight. Always secure your tray table as soon as the plane starts moving on the tarmac, and never lower it during the takeoff and landing. It's a security measure, which ensures that you and the other passengers will have a clear pathway in case of an emergency evacuation. Also, keep your seat in an upright position during takeoff and landing. First of all, a reclined seat can seriously slow down an emergency evacuation, since it will block a person sitting behind. What's more, the more backward you're leaning, the harder it is to get into the brace position during an emergency landing. Now try to avoid snoozing during or right after takeoff and landing. For one thing, it's not the best thing for your health. The main problem is that the air pressure inside the cabin changes very quickly during these phases of the flight. This, in turn, affects the air pressure in your ears. It's important to be alert during this time to relax and open up your ears, for example by yawning or swallowing frequency. Chewing gum works for me. If you're sleeping, you can't do this, which can lead to permanent damage. And of course, there's a safety issue. Most accidents happen during takeoff and landing. If you're sleeping during these stages, you might not be alert and conscious enough if an emergency happens. Now, this next recommendation comes from the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. According to them, you might want to skip on hot drinks on a plane. The water used to make tea or coffee doesn't come from bottles, it's regular tap water. And water tanks on airplanes are often old and full of bacteria. In 2004, there was a study which found that more than 12% of water samples contained harmful bacteria. But if you still decide to have a cup of hot beverage on a plane, never pour coffee or tea on your own. Flight attendants are trained to handle this task in crowded aisles of a moving airplane and won't accidentally burn you or other passengers. Now, it's probably better if you don't order Coke on a plane. The cabin pressure so low up in the air causes a lot of foam. For apparent reasons, flight attendants don't want to serve you a cup filled with froth. That's why they'll fill only half the cup, then wait for the bubbles to settle, and then finish pouring. That can take ages. Keep your air vent open. This way you'll minimize the spread of germs. Planes have high-quality air filters. They'll catch up to 99% of all airborne germs, so you should be safe there. But make sure to wipe that tray table. With 8 times more bacteria than the toilet flush button, it's the dirtiest place on board. Another thing you should avoid is leaning your head on the window if you have a window seat. You never know who occupied your seat before you, and, in any case, the glass is likely to be covered with germs. Say no to backless sandals and high heels on a flight. I do. There are very serious safety reasons for such a request. The first is that both these types of footwear make it very difficult to evacuate the aircraft fast. If you wear high heels, you will anyway have to leave them behind in case the crew is using emergency slides during an evacuation. The heels are very likely to damage the slide, so off they go. Now ask yourself, do you really fancy running away from the airplane barefoot? I'll answer that for you. Nope. Instead, wear sturdy shoes with a solid sole. In this case, you won't find yourself standing on the hot tarmac or in the weeds without any footwear at all. Don't stuff heavy objects into overhead compartments. Your things may not stay inside during severe turbulence. and while falling out, they will injure you and other passengers. Ow! That's why, if it feels difficult to lift something into the overhead compartment, better put it under the seat in front of you or elsewhere. Now, don't blame the pilots for the hard landing. When you experience it in bad weather, it might be intentional. If the runway is covered with water or snow, the plane has to touch down hard in order to break the water layer and prevent aquaplaning. Otherwise, the water can perform the role of a lubricant, and the plane won't be able to brake or respond to any control. Deploying an emergency slide when there's no emergency is a very bad idea. It can cause hour-long delays and cost airlines thousands of dollars to pack the undamaged slide back into its container. Why would someone do it? Apparently, some think it'll help them get off the plane faster. Well, they're an idiot. Don't be one yourself. Just keep in mind that it doesn't work this way. Don't ignore the instructions of the cabin crew to open window shades during takeoff and landing. This way, flight attendants can see what's happening outside, assess the situation, and act fast, organizing the evacuation. For example, if there's a fire outside one exit, they will redirect passengers toward another door. Avoid carrying spray deodorants or shaving cream in your carry-on baggage. Both these things tend to explode mid-flight and therefore aren't allowed on board the airplane. A much better idea is to choose stick deodorants. You also mustn't keep power banks in your checked luggage, and if you want to bring one on board, its capacity shouldn't be more than 20,000 milliamps. Besides, you shouldn't use them during the flight since they might catch fire. In general, lithium batteries are safe to use, but since they're high energy, they can catch fire if they're not treated with care, misused, or if there's a manufacturing fault. Such batteries have been the cause of quite a few fires on board airplanes, as well as during ground handling. Do not worry about airport scanners, they won't harm your health. Otherwise, airport employees wouldn't be able to stay near them without special clothing. Even when you're passing by a baggage scanner, the risk is minimal. And the last one, don't act like a jerk on board. Behave yourself. I know you will. Also, never try to land a plane on your own. Nah, don't laugh, I'm not kidding. In movies, they often show us that something happens to the pilots and they can't land the plane. And that's when the main character, a very skillful person, starts their game. Unfortunately, it's close to impossible to do it in real life. Even if a person is a genius, is fond of computer simulators that match the real model of an aircraft 100%, and is ready to follow all the instructions from the ground, they're likely to fail due to one simple aspect: stress. It is true that there have been cases throughout history when amateurs landed smallish private planes after the incapacitation of a pilot. However, there has never been a case of a non-professional pilot landing a commercial passenger airplane. It's only in the movies. Hey, I hate to break it to you, but if you got pickpocketed, the chances are you probably let them steal your hard-earned money. Well, enough with brutal honesty. Now on to the ultimate tips to prevent it from happening. Scammers can be quite clever, and they may use tactics that will lead you to willingly part with your money. Before heading out, I strongly suggest researching common scam techniques. For instance, in Paris, there's a prevalent scam involving people who offer to help tourists in buying metro tickets. Here's how the fraud typically unfolds. After a long flight, you take a train to central Paris and arrive at the metro station ready to buy tickets. As you approach the ticket machine, someone in regular clothing may approach you, claiming to be able to help. However, these people are not friendly locals, but scammers. Instead of purchasing the carnet, a book of 10 metro tickets as promised, they might only buy a child's single fare and keep the extra money for themselves. The best way to protect yourself from this swindle is to politely refuse any offers of assistance. Always buy your metro tickets directly from legitimate machines, which have multiple language options including English, or through an official kiosk or ticket counter. Now, let's imagine your belongings have been stolen. It's the worst-case scenario, but it can happen at any moment, even when you're in a public restroom and there isn't enough space for your luggage in the cubicle. The big question is, what are the two things you absolutely cannot travel without? That's right, your passport and your wallet. So make sure these essentials are always with you, no matter the situation. There are special bags designed for running that are made from thinner fabric. But if you want to avoid spending money on one, I completely understand. You can simply wear clothing that has enough internal pockets to keep these items secure, because external pockets can be risky. Alternatively, you can opt for a pouch that you can keep in front of you. Also, this small hook can profoundly change your life. It connects zippers in such a way that makes them difficult to open, not just for potential thieves, but for you as well. You can find one online and place an order, but alternatively, you can use anything similar. The key idea is to keep the two zippers together. Even a simple keychain will suffice. There's a vast range of travel-related goods available on internet platforms, but trust me, you can create most of them yourself. Take these socks with pockets, for example. They look cool, but you don't need a zipper on your sock to hide something. You can simply wear two socks, one shorter and the other taller. Hide your valuables in between them, then roll the taller sock down to seal the gap, preventing your belongings from falling out. The next tip is to research your destination beforehand. Not only should you consider safety concerns, but it's also important to familiarize yourself with local laws. Additionally, be sure to check health advisories. You may need vaccinations before traveling to certain exotic locations. Now, be careful not to get tricked by those "pack your luggage with me" bloggers. It could lead to serious trouble. The TSA is no joke. They must remain vigilant and thorough with anything that appears suspicious. After all, it's our safety. If you follow the questionable advice you find online, such as wrap your valuables in a diaper to protect them, you may end up with your belongings held for investigation and inspection, and you could face questioning by others. Never check anything you're not prepared to say goodbye to. For every 1,000 bags, 7 get lost. While some bags do get returned, you never know when that might happen. I once had my bag lost returning from a European trip, and it wasn't found until a month later. Needless to say, all the precious cheese I bought in Italy was no longer safe to consume. You may have seen a bazillion videos on how to turn your hotel room into a fortress. There are portable locks, underdoor safety systems, special hooks, and I'm sure I forgot something. I know safety comes first, but sometimes, when you travel with carry-on only, there just isn't enough room to pack all those extra items. However, you can utilize something your hotel provides – a towel. By tightly rolling a towel and placing it under the door, you can create a barrier. While it's not perfect protection, it can make any under-the-door intrusion much harder should it occur. Whenever you travel, always make sure to keep a crayon in your wallet. They're always ready to write, and they don't need sharpening and won't run out of ink. Unlike pencils, which can break and become unstable, or pens that might burst in changing air pressure, crayons remain reliable. Keeping a crayon in your wallet has 2 main benefits. First, it's accessible whenever you have your wallet, providing a handy writing tool at all times. Second, its sturdy design helps protect your cards from bending or breaking. Ensure they remain intact while you travel. Plus, a crayon is the ideal size for most wallets, unlike longer pencils or pens. Now, when traveling, we often rely on our smartphones for various needs. It's wise to consider bringing 2 phones instead of just one, particularly if you're heading abroad. This isn't just for communication, it's a precaution against theft. In the unfortunate event of a mugging, having 2 wallets and 2 phones can be a lifesaver, as thieves typically won't expect it. Also, keep your real wallet in your front pocket and a decoy wallet in your back pocket. Similarly, carry 2 phones, placing your primary one in the front pocket and the second one in the back pocket. This way, when confronted and asked for a phone and wallet, you can hand over the decoy instead of your valuable belongings. Attracting the attention of a thief is not just about wearing flashy accessories. As surprising as it may sound, simply looking good and attractive can draw unwanted attention, especially for women. Thieves may have a skewed perception that an attractive person wearing nice clothes equals money. To minimize the risk, it's wise not to overdress while traveling. There's an added benefit to this approach. By only bringing the simple items you wouldn't mind saying goodbye to, you can create extra space in your luggage for souvenirs and local produce. You can even leave behind old clothes in a recycling bin at your destination, freeing up room for new treasures without incurring hefty airport fees on your way home. Believe it or not, duct tape is one clever trick that can help you deter thieves. Even if you have a perfectly nice phone, laptop case, or backpack, making them look a bit shabby can be beneficial when traveling to dangerous destinations. Thieves typically target brand new or high-condition items that are easy to resell, and they're less interested in items that seem like they require more effort to sell. By the way, it's not just duct tape. Anything that makes your belongings look older or less appealing will work. Use dirty and worn phone cases or unattractive bags to conceal your valuables. Remember, you're on vacation, not at a fashion week. Hey, I've got a quick question for you. Do you know which spot is the most dangerous for pickpocketing? It's the Trevi Fountain, where many thefts occur. It's not surprised, it's always crowded, making it easy for pickpockets to operate. While this fountain is located in Rome, the Italian capital isn't as notorious as Barcelona, which is said to be the hottest pickpocket city on the globe. So, wherever you stop for a coffee in a nice bar in Barcelona, or actually anywhere in the world, your bags may become an enticing target for thieves. It's important to take precautions to keep your belongings secure until you're ready to leave. One effective strategy is to attach your bag to a sturdy object nearby. For instance, you might loop a strap around a chair leg, keep the bag on your lap, or place it between you and a friend. If a thief attempts to snatch your bag, these methods will make it more difficult for them, often leading them to abandon their attempt or get caught in the act. So hey, be careful and have a good time.
Different cultures have unique ways of counting. For instance, in some parts of the world, people typically begin counting with their thumb and end with their pinky. In contrast, others start with their index finger and end with their thumb. Some people begin with their pinky, and sometimes they can even start by extending their fingers in an open palm before drawing them in to form a closed fist. Alright, now let's take a little test counting from 1 to 5. You're gonna show me the numbers with your fingers, and I'll tell you what culture your gestures belong to. Let's go! Show me 1. If you show it with your index finger, you're probably either from the US or from China, because this gesture is typical in these countries. If you show 1 with your thumb, hey, what part of Europe are you from? In many European countries such as Germany, Spain, France, Italy, and the UK, people use their thumbs to show 1. Hey, and what about number 2? If your number looks like V and you use your index and middle finger for that, you probably belong to the American or Chinese culture. If you use your index finger and a thumb, you're likely European. Number 3 is shown differently in various cultures too. While people in China and the US use ring, middle, and index fingers to do that, people in Europe use their thumbs, index, and middle fingers. For number 4, there are not so many options. People in different parts of the world use all fingers except for the thumb to show the number 4. Same with number 5, we just show all the fingers we have. But there's a unique place in the world where everything's a bit upside down. Nope, I'm not talking about Australia. When it comes to hand gestures, it's Japan that leaves us mind-boggled. You see, while most people usually show their fingers to manifest a certain number, the Japanese do the opposite thing. The number they manifest is the number of fingers they bend. Look at this gesture. The only finger bent here is the thumb, and it might be like 4 to you. For the Japanese, it's 1. And here you can see that a thumb and an index finger are bent, which means it's 2. Then you add a middle finger bent to show 3, a bent ring finger to show 4, and to show 5, all you need to do is to show your fist. Crazy! But it's not over. In India, people use the lines between finger segments to count, with each digit representing 4 numbers and the whole hand representing 20. In some Bantu-speaking regions of Eastern Africa, such as Tanzania, people use both hands symmetrically to count as much as possible. For example, they use the index, middle, and ring fingers of both hands to represent 6. Additionally, the Northern Pame people of Mexico count on their knuckles, while the now extinct Yuki language in California use the spaces between the fingers for counting. Knowing how to count in different cultures is cool, but remember that at any time you visit a new country, you must be super cautious about your gestures. Something that may seem sweet and innocent in your culture may be terribly insulting in another culture. Like, is there anything bad about thumbs up? Turns out, it might mean a pretty nasty thing in Iran. Yeah, if you show thumbs up as a sign of appreciation there, you risk being misunderstood. However, most people will surely understand that you're just a tourist trying to be nice, so they won't hold a grudge against you. Pointing something with your index finger isn't really a sign of good manners, but in Malaysia, it's especially rude. So if you want to show something with your finger there, use your thumb, preferably the right thumb to play it safe. Be super careful when you want to ask someone to come up to you in Asia, especially in the Philippines. An innocent gesture like "come here" can be misinterpreted in Asia and even lead to an arrest if used to beckon someone in the Philippines. So you'd better use these gestures there for dogs only. Even looking at your watch may be easily misinterpreted depending on the country which you do that in. While it's okay to do that in Europe or the US, however, some people might still get offended, it's a big no in the Middle East. A conversation there must have its natural course, and you can't just abruptly end it in the middle if you're running out of time. Another innocent gesture that has the dark side is the OK sign. In English-speaking countries, people interpret it positively, but if you do that in Latin America or France, it will be extremely rude. People in New Zealand use this sign to indicate that someone is lazy, and in Australia, the OK sign means 0. Well, I'm not surprised. Even basic communication, like nodding for yes and shaking your head for no, can be reversed in certain regions, in countries like Albania and Bulgaria. Gestures can mean separate things, notions, and reactions, but they make an important part of languages too. I'm speaking Italian. Sure thing, there are more than enough words in this beautiful language to express whatever you want, but you can spice it up with some gestures. I mean, there are even emojis of Italian origin, like this one. By the way, do you know what it means? Seems like it gets misinterpreted on social media. Well, the pinched fingers mean, "What do you want?" Some extra meaning got added later, and today, people use it on social media to discuss anything Italian, or they can show that they're impressed by something by using this emoji too. In Italian, if you bring together the index finger of both hands and then tap them together, it means that you're talking about two people, or even two things that get along. This one's pretty convenient, huh? Instead of saying you two are getting along, you can simply tap your fingers together. Also, the Italian gesture can help you substitute not only your emotions, but even nouns. Look here, this sign means money. Yeah, you can learn the Italian word soldi, which is money. But you can rub your thumb and index finger and middle finger together and get the very same meaning. So as you can see, gesturing can be pretty cool and help season your basic conversation. However, actions speak louder than words. Do you see what I'm driving at? Well, that gesture seasoning actually is something more important than what you say. According to research, about 80 to 90% of the idea you want to convey lies in the non-verbal part of it. Here's why the so-called body language is so important. Despite many cultural differences, facial expressions such as anger, happiness, sadness, disgust, surprise, and fear are universal throughout the world. However, non-verbal behaviors like eye contact can vary greatly between cultures. In the United States, eye contact is seen as respectful, but in some Middle Eastern and Asian cultures, it's avoided to prevent inappropriate romantic interest or social discomfort. So, to understand people better, we need both to listen to them and to read their body language. There's even such a thing as EQ. Do not mix it up with IQ. EQ is emotional intelligence, and it's linked to the ability to read other people's body language and express yourself better. Some scientists claim that gestures can help increase the value of our message by 60%. So in case you're having a hard time trying to manifest something, you gotta try to introduce more gestures to your speaking routine. There was an experiment evaluating TED Talkers. The least popular ones had 272 hand gestures during the 18-minute talk. Guess how many gestures the most popular speakers used? About 465. That's almost double. Yeah, it might seem that this number is super high and those people didn't stop waving their hands. I mean, 18 minutes is 1,080 seconds, and it turns out that they made a gesture almost every 2 seconds. But it worked. Are the letters SSSS on your boarding pass a reason to worry? What's much more dangerous than turbulence? Should you really be the first to board the plane? You're about to figure it out. You might have noticed that most planes have blue seats. There's no mystery here. Airlines opt for this color because it's considered to have a calming effect. This color supposedly puts passengers at ease and helps even the most nervous flyers to relax. But there's also another, more practical reason. Stains, dirt, and scrapes are less visible on dark blue fabric. Never throw your boarding pass away in a public place. It contains tons of your sensitive information, including your name and frequent flyer number. This, in turn, may allow someone else to check your future bookings, change your seat, or even cancel your flights. So the best way to deal with the boarding pass for a flight you've already boarded is to take it home and feed it through a paper shredder. By the way, if you ever see the letters SSSS or S on your boarding pass, get ready for additional security checks. Instead of these letters, there may be a checkerboard pattern. Anyway, if you have any of these marks, your carry-on luggage can also undergo a thorough inspection. Why might they choose you for secondary screening? Some of the criteria are making a one-way reservation or paying cash for your ticket. In some cases, the selection is absolutely random. Look, your gate is open and the boarding is started. Wait, where are you running? There's no need to hurry. The trick experienced Globetrotters use is always board last. For one thing, you don't have to waste time standing in line. Then, there are fewer people on the jetway and in the aisle, and you spend less time on the plane. No one is going to take your seat anyway. There's one exception though. If you have a bulky carry-on bag, it may make more sense not to board last. Otherwise, the chances are high that all the overhead bin space will be occupied by the time you reach your seat. And then your bag may end up in another part of the plane, and you'll have to wait till the other passengers disembark before you get to your luggage. Duh! Before takeoff and landing, flight attendants usually flip a small switch on the bathroom door. This prevents it from flying open when it's not supposed to. With the same ease, a flight attendant can open the door when someone is inside. Look, they only need to lift the lavatory sign and move the knob into the unlocked position. Pilots don't worry about turbulence. That's because they know that there is a thing way more dangerous than any turbulence. It's an updraft. In most cases, turbulence only drops you a couple of feet down, even though it might feel as if you're falling from the top of the Empire State Building. If the turbulence is strong enough for the pilots to ask flight attendants to sit down, the plane can go 10 to 20 feet down. The most extreme white-knuckle turbulence is super rare. But an updraft is a big air mass, part of a storm or some other weather phenomenon, moving upwards. Pilots don't see updrafts on their radars at night, and when a plane hits one, it feels like driving over a huge speed bump at 500 miles per hour. An updraft is also extremely treacherous because it can push an aircraft upward to dangerous altitudes. Modern planes have a special system that detects other aircraft, mountains, and different solid objects in their path. 10 miles away from another plane, and a voice in the cockpit starts chanting, "Traffic, traffic." 5 miles closer, and the same voice begins to give pilots the directions. Airplanes can operate with one engine, even during takeoff and landing. Both engines failing simultaneously is almost unheard of. But even then, a plane wouldn't drop from the sky like a rock. Pilots would have up to 20 minutes to find a suitable place to land. The way the cabin is pressurized has a great effect on your taste buds. You lose up to 30% of your ability to taste sweet and salty things. In other words, it's not that airplane food isn't tasty, you just don't feel its flavor. That's also the main reason why airline catering companies add extra salt and spices to the dishes they cook. But you know what may help you? Noise-canceling earphones. For some reason, that probably has a scientific explanation. Cutting off all that noise around can help your taste buds. Each of those dings you hear during the flight has its own meaning. In most airlines, a boing soon after takeoff indicates that the landing gear is getting retracted. 3 dings in a row means more urgency than just one. A high-low ringtone informs crew members that their colleague needs them in another part of the plane. 3 low chimes means some serious turbulence ahead. Crew members are supposed to put away meal carts, take their seats, and fasten their seatbelts. If you're a nervous flyer, pick a seat in the middle of the cabin. Turbulence mostly affects the front and rear parts of the cabin. The middle section, which is over the wings, doesn't shake so much. Pilots and co-pilots eat different meals. The reason for this precaution is very simple. Imagine both pilots having the same dish and getting food poisoning. In this case, neither of them will be able to control the plane. If they still want to have the same dish and won't agree to have anything else, there's a safety net. Pilots don't have their meals at the same time. If one pilot ate the dish and still feels okay several hours later, the other pilot can brave their meal as well. What would you say when asked about the filthiest place on a plane? Nope, that's not the toilet seat. It's not even in the bathroom. Flight attendants warn that you should be particularly careful with headrests, seat pockets, tray tables, and seat belts. Experiments have shown that 1/3 of all seat belts have yeast and mold on them. Most tray tables are covered with bacteria. Seat pockets are extremely filthy too, but headrests are the dirtiest of them all. In most cases, flight attendants don't have enough time to change or disinfect them in between flights. If your captain announces they're finishing some paperwork, it means they're busy revising the flight itinerary or waiting for the ground staff to prepare the flight logbook. That's a journal that contains the official record of a journey. Some places, especially those flying long distances, have secret bedrooms for crew members to catch some shut-eye. These bedrooms, called crew rest compartments, are located either at the back of the plane or behind the cockpit. Such a compartment can have up to 10 comfortable beds where flight attendants can have a rest. Plane windows are made of super strong plexiglass that can easily cope with high speeds. And the window panes are shaped in a special way so that the high pressure inside the cabin pushes them against the aircraft body. In other words, plane windows are very unlikely to get broken. Once upon a time, plane windows were square, but the pressure built up in the corners of such windows, making them ultimate weak spots. This means that each square window had 4 weak spots. This made them likely to crash under the enormous stress of high altitudes. Luckily, making airplane windows curved solved this problem once and forever. Such a shape distributes the pressure and reduces the likelihood of cracks or any other damage. Planes regularly get struck by lightning, at least once a year or once per 1,000 hours of flight time. These days, it's totally safe. The electric charge simply runs through the aircraft's aluminum shell. It doesn't cause the plane any damage. But did you know that airplanes not only get hit by lightning, but they also trigger it? When an aircraft is flying through a cloud, the friction between its fuselage and the air creates static electricity. Sometimes, it can cause lightning.
Ah yes, everyone loves a holiday. But figuring out what to pack in your luggage can be a daunting task, especially when you're limited on weight and baggage space. Not to mention, you're likely to do some holiday shopping on your adventure away from home. So, you're gonna need extra space on your return for all those souvenirs you've collected. Accumulating too much weight or bulk can end up costing you a handsome fee with the airline if you're not properly prepared. But you can now relax. You just focus on booking your vacation. We'll take care of your luggage with these handy traveling tips. No doubt your clothes are going to take up the bulk of your luggage. Considering most airline standards permit 1 bag for most local trips and up to 2 bags for longer distances, that doesn't grant you a whole lot of space if you plan on being fashionable on your getaway, especially in the winter. However, this doesn't mean you have to turn your undergarments inside out for repeated use. The key here is to be clever with how you pack. Firstly, you might want to consider how you're folding your clothes. The most space-efficient method to store your wardrobe in a suitcase for travel is to roll up each item. Think of your clothes like those sleeping bags you used to take on your camping trips. They always seem too thick for their compacted covers, but with perseverance, you could roll it up tight enough to fit inside. Now, you don't need to wrestle with your clothes quite as much, but the same principle here applies. Start by folding your shirts, pants, and whatever else you plan on packing neatly, similar to how you might find them on a clothing store shelf. Then, when you have them in a relatively rectangular or squared-off shape, roll them up tightly. Now that you have your little clothes logs, start packing them into your bag. And behold, extra space! Now, here's something we've all experienced arriving at our holiday destination. We drop our suitcase on the hotel bed, open it up, only to find all our clothes unfurled and scattered like a tornado stormed through our bag. Your luggage has had a rough journey from your home to your holiday destination. It's been dragged through airport terminals, tossed around by baggage handlers, and rocked back and forth during in-flight turbulence. A simple stationary item, rubber bands, will help you keep your clothes neat. Now that you've got them rolled up, place a couple of rubber bands around them to keep them from unfurling. This is an especially neat trick if you want to roll an outfit together as one. Maybe you've got head-to-toe denim that you can't wait to rock on your getaway. Fold up your clothes as before, then layer the different items of your ideal outfit atop each other. Roll them up as one, then use the rubber bands to keep them together. You can preemptively decide your day-to-day outfits before you even board the plane. However, you may still prefer to fold your clothes, especially business or formal shirts and pants. Lucky for you, we have a handy trick for that too. Instead of folding each item individually, we're going to lay it out all on top of each other. Start with your shirts and tops, alternating with one on top and one on the bottom, keeping the necks of your shirts at the center. Work your way down to your pants and smaller items until they're all laid out flat. Try to keep your pants in the middle. Finally, start folding your items in on themselves, with the shirts creating the outer layer until you end up with a neat bundle, like a present. You should be able to sit your bundle squarely into your bag. Want to save even more luggage space? Instead of putting your undergarments and socks into their own section, try fitting them into available spaces and gaps within the rest of your luggage. If you plan on taking a cap with you, for instance, the inside of your headwear is a great space to store your socks. This applies to other small luggage items too, such as phone chargers and ties. Though keep in mind that you can also lay your ties and belts out flat across the clothes in your luggage to conserve space. And if you're really limited on baggage size, say all you have is a carry-on for a fortnight-long trip, here's another method. Get yourself some compression bags to store your clothes in. These bags will compact multiple sets of clothes into the size of a small laptop bag. Fold up the clothes you intend to pack and store them into the compression bag. You should be able to fit 8 to 10 standard clothes items, or a few bulky ones. Once you've filled the bag, seal it and squeeze the air out through the built-in one-way pressure valve. The easiest way to do this is either by rolling it, and you should be pretty good at rolling your clothes by now, or by using your knees to apply pressure. You should be able to fit 2 to 4 of these compression bags in your standard carry-on suitcase, which is especially helpful if you want to save money by avoiding checked-in luggage. And you can take even more clothes on board with you if you stick them into a pillowcase. The best thing about this tip is that it also doubles as a comfy pillow for you to rest your head on during the flight. If you do have a bit more space to spare, another great way to keep your stuff organized is with packing cubes. It might not be as space efficient as compression bags, but a lot of travelers prefer them for tidier and well-organized packing. You might like to divide them by outfits or clothes types, such as one for pants and one for tops. You can easily purchase packing cubes from most online retail services and travel and camping stores. There are also packing cubes specially designed for one or more pairs of shoes. This is a great way to compact the space your shoes would otherwise take up in your luggage, and to keep your clean clothes from coming into contact with your footwear. Nobody wants their tops to smell like feet, right? If you're still struggling to bring all your items with you inside your suitcase, there are a couple more tricks that you can use for that extra bit of weight. without the extra cost. The most obvious of which is to use your own body. That's right, time to layer up. Pick out all your bulky items and wear as many as you can manage. You can try wearing some shorts under your pants or several layers of your winter wear, such as your sweater, jacket, and coat, all over the top of one another. You might be sweating a little, but most airports and planes are well air-conditioned. You can always shed some layers once you've boarded your flight. At least you'll have some warm wear to snuggle up in if you do get cold up there in the clouds. If you don't want to wear all those layers, there's actually another type of bag you can carry on the plane with you, free of charge. Get yourself a duty-free bag from any of the duty-free stores in the airport. You can even hang on to it for next time. Store all your extra items in your duty-free bag and carry it onto your flight at no additional cost. It's also worth considering what type of luggage you're using. More importantly, how much it weighs. A lot of people forget that the standard 15 pounds permitted by most airlines includes the actual weight of their suitcase. The bag itself can often weigh up to 4 to 6 pounds. That's a huge chunk of your weight in the bag alone. So, when you're shopping for your luggage, take into account how much it weighs. Choosing a lighter bag will give you more space for the items you want to take with you. Stick to some of these handy tips and you'll be on your way with no shortage of luggage and some extra money to spend on your vacation. Happy flying!
You heat a pack of popcorn in the microwave, and there are small unpopped grains left. You can get rid of them before you open the bag. See this little tiny hole at the top? Shake the pack over the plate, and all the grains will fall out of the hole. It's much better to peel off the stickers, not from the bottom to the top, but tear them off from the side. This way, the paper remains flat, and its low side doesn't bend. Peel the banana starting from the top. Then you will not have to squeeze the bottom of the fruit. The hole on the pan handle can be used not only to hang it on the wall. You can insert a spoon into this hole while cooking a soup. Cardboard containers with Chinese food can be opened so that 4 paper walls lie flat on the table. So, all you need to do is unfold the container. This way, you'll get a very realistic plate, and scorching food will cool down faster. An easy way to peel an orange is to cut off the top and end of the orange. Then, cut it in the center to the middle. Then unroll the fruit. Almost all people misuse a travel pillow. Usually, the 2 ends of the U-shaped cushion are directed forward. The correct position is to turn the pillow on the other side. The arc should be under your chin, and the 2 ends should look back. Your neck will feel much more comfortable in this position, and you'll get a great nap. Your ceiling fan has 2 modes, for winter and summer. You need to find the switch on your fan. Switch up to start winter mode, or down for summer mode. In summer mode, the fan pushes the air down, and it sucks the air up in winter mode. According to the rules of etiquette, you must first let those who leave the room, building, elevator out, and only then can you enter. First, they come out, then you come in. If you're inside, then you come out first. This simple rule will help to avoid a collision. In restaurants and cafes, toothpicks are always on the table. Most people use them incorrectly when they pick their teeth immediately after eating. The correct and cultured way is to go into the restroom and carefully pull out all the food leftovers from your mouth. Here's the right way to tie a garbage bag without making this little hole on the top. Don't tie these thin straps together. Hold them up, make a knot, wrap them around the knot through the loop, and here you have a good tight seal. To properly dry your sneakers in the dryer, you need to tie the laces together. Then put the sneakers inside the dryer, but leave the laces' tips sticking out. Close the lid so that it clamps the shoelaces. Done! Wired headphones fit much better in your ear if you put them on in a way when the tips with the wire direct up. Then, the wire can be put around the auricle, so your headphones will not fall out of the ear. A bobby pin should be attached with the wave side closer to the head. Then it will not fall out of your hair. Don't brush your teeth with an electric toothbrush using fast movements. The electronic toothbrush should pass smoothly through the teeth. You can tear a bag of sugar with one hand. Hold the bag above a mug. Just place it on your index and middle finger. Then press your thumb into the middle of the bag. It will break the center, and sugar will easily pour out. When you pour juice or milk, keep the neck of the box at the top, above the glass. Then there will be less splashing. You wear sunglasses and enter the room. Where are you going to hide them? Do you leave it on your head, hang it in your shirt collar, or put it in your pocket? The best way is to put the glasses in the breast pocket so the lenses will be inside and only one temple sticks out of the pocket. Your glasses will be safely inside and the lenses will be protected from damage. When you flush the toilet, always cover it with a lid. Small, imperceptible particles of dirty water and germs splash when pressing the flush button while keeping the toilet lid open. You don't have to tear off the plastic sheeting from the dishwasher tablet and crumble it. Just put it in the tank and close it. The water will dissolve the sheeting. It doesn't work with all the brands out there, so check the instructions. The compartment under the stove is not properly used when you put only pans and pots inside. You can put dishes with food there. The heat from the oven will keep the food warm. This is useful when you're waiting for guests who are running late. Almost everyone has a plunger with a round rubber shape. In the movies, we have seen how many times it's used to eliminate a blockage in the toilet. In fact, this plunger is needed to eliminate a blockage in the sink. For the toilet, you need to use another special plunger. You're eating a taco, and all the food is falling out on the other side. Put another tortilla on a plate. All the fallen food will be on it, and thus, you have another small taco. Using a vegetable peeler, most people make only one forward movement to cut the peel. Then, they put the blade back and cut off the peel again. You can cut the peel in the opposite direction and move the peeler back and forth. It will be faster and more efficient. Don't tuck the belt from the bathrobe through the back. Pull it out and thread it in a loop on the side of your stomach. After that, tie the belt as you like. This way, the bathrobe will snuggle tighter to the body. Most of us use toilet paper seat covers incorrectly. The correct way is to put the paper so the round side, in the middle, looks into the back part of the toilet. Advertisements show us that we need to cover the entire surface of the brush with toothpaste. One small pea is enough to brush your teeth. Companies want you to use the paste fast and buy another one. That's why they show this wrong and uneconomical way. We've been applying deodorant wrong all this time. The most effective way to use deodorant is to apply it at night before you go to bed. The easiest way to peel garlic is to put it in the microwave. Cut off the upper part, then put the garlic in the microwave for 20 to 30 seconds. Done! The skin easily tears off the garlic. Most people cut pizza from the middle to the edge. The filling always leaves the dough, and you have to make a lot of cuts. The correct and convenient way is to cut the pizza across, from one edge to the other. You only need 2 cuts to divide the pizza into 4 pieces, 3 cuts to divide by 6, and so on. It turns out that it's not necessary to wrap the suitcase with protective plastic sheeting. You can just put a t-shirt on the bag. Make sure the handle sticks out of the collar. And don't forget to make a little cut for the side handle. The table attached to the seat in the plane can also be used as a hammock for your feet. Just tie a belt, a blanket, or a towel around the table and hang your legs. To move a needed letter or a word on your phone screen, it's not necessary to press your finger on the text area. Press the space button and hold it to control the slider. Works on all iPhones. The Spotlight function on your Mac is designed not only for quick search of files and applications. You can use the search bar as a calculator. Just enter a mathematical example that you need to solve. Spotlight also uses internal dictionary data. Enter any word and get data from the dictionary about this word. If you're hungry and don't know what to order in a restaurant, there are special mobile apps to help you out. They show how the dish looks, its size, and weight.
Well, here's quite a list for you. Yellow fever, malaria, Zika. These are just a few of the nasties you might pick up if you fly in shorts. Sure, the cabin might look clean, but check it out under a microscope and you'll see a different story. Take seatback trays. They're gross, with over 2,100 colony-forming units per square inch. Who knows how clean the actual seats are? Airlines aren't exactly shouting about how often they deep clean. Probably not more than every 1 to 3 months. Now, if you think planes get a good scrub down before every flight, think again. Every minute of delay costs an airline about $100, so there's not much time for a thorough cleaning. The crew does what they can, but wearing shorts is still a bad idea. You'll expose your skin to all that grime, and let's face it, you won't jump in the shower the second you get off the plane. So do yourself a favor and wear clothes that cover your skin. Plus, sometimes it gets excessively cold on a plane, so shorts will make you ask for a blanket on a plane. Now, listen closely, you don't want to do that. Those pillows and blankets are reused constantly and not always cleaned thoroughly. Let's just say short turnaround times between flights make proper washing unlikely. But even if they are, airlines use industrial detergents to wash pillows and blankets. You see what I'm driving at? Either make sure to wear proper clothing or bring your own blanket. If there's something you should totally wear on a plane, it's slippers. Yep, the ones you snagged from the hotel the last time you traveled. They're a lifesaver when you want to ditch your uncomfortable shoes but don't want to flash your socks, no matter how cute. Slippers are easy to slide on and off, making them perfect for those mid-flight bathroom trips. At the end of the flight, you can toss the slippers away. No muss, no fuss. During takeoff and landing, the air pressure changes super quickly, which can lead to ear discomfort and muffled hearing, something called barytitis. Simple things like yawning, chewing, or swallowing can help your ears adjust to the pressure. But if you're asleep, you're not doing any of that, so your ears will struggle. Plus, takeoff and landing are when most accidents happen, so it's crucial to stay alert and be ready for anything. And your ears will thank you. Now, not every life hack you see online is worth trying. Take this one that went viral on TikTok. Millions of viewers watch passengers pulling their knees up to their chests, feet at the edge of their seats, with a seatbelt fastened around their feet. But you shouldn't do that. First off, it's against the rules. Official guidelines say seatbelts should be worn properly across your lap. Next, in this position, a sudden impact could force your face or chin into your knees. Plus, a properly worn seatbelt helps you keep restrained during sudden altitude drops, preventing you from being thrust upwards. Finally, if you injure yourself or others by sitting this way, you could be held liable for any costs incurred, like if the plane has to make an emergency diversion. Well, you know the drill. Tray tables up, seat backs upright. But why is this so important? It's not just an airline preference, it's the law, according to the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations. The thing is, upright seats provide more structural support during impact. A reclined seat can act like a catapult during a sudden stop, projecting you forward or slam you backward in case of sudden acceleration. Takeoff, approach, and landing are the riskiest phases. About 67% of fatal accidents happen during these times. Cruising is the safest phase, so feel free to recline once you're at altitude. Now, in case of an emergency on a plane, you'll only have around 90 seconds to evacuate. Dimming the cabin lights during takeoff and landing when it's dark outside is all about safety. This helps your eyes adjust to the darkness, making it easier to evacuate if needed. It can take up to 30 minutes for our eyes to fully adapt to low light, and having sharp vision can be a lifesaver in an emergency. Plus, with your eyes adjusted, you'll see the floor lights guiding you to the exits more clearly. On the flip side, if it's bright outside, the cabin lights stay on so that you're not blinded upon exit. These small details make a big difference in creating the best conditions for a quick evacuation. You'll also notice flight attendants asking passengers to close tray tables, stow bags, and put seats upright. This clears the pathways to the exits, and they might ask you to open your window shade so they can spot any external hazards like fire or debris that could hinder an emergency evacuation. Well, it's time to have lunch. Well, sadly on a plane it won't be as yummy as back on Earth. But why does food taste a bit off when you're flying? Let's first figure out how we perceive the taste of food. It's not only about your mouth, it's also about your nose. The dry air and pressure changes in the cabin can reduce your taste bud sensitivity by about 30%, making food taste different in the ear than it does on the ground. As for your nose, well, let's just say it has a hard time distinguishing flavors when the air humidity is only 12%. In total, there are 5 basic tastes: saltiness, sweetness, bitterness, sourness, and that savory flavor often called umami, which is Japanese for delicious taste. The 2 tastes that get especially weak when flying are saltiness and sweetness, which is why airlines often over-season their meals. To make airplane food, if not yummy but at least edible, cooks must add up to 20% more salt. By the way, it's not just about the altitude or pressure. That loud background noise can also make food taste less salty and sweet. While traveling, relax and breathe, my friend. Despite what you might think, aircraft air quality is actually better than in many other communal spaces. About 40% of the air is filtered through a HEPA system, and the rest comes from outside. This means the air is completely changed every 3 minutes, catching 99.97% of airborne particles. Sounds very safe, right? Well, almost. Look at those overhead air vents. As for colony-forming units, there are 285, just 285. For comparison, an average keyboard has over 3.5 million CFUs per square inch. So those nozzles are relatively clean. Still, you never know when they were last wiped down, so keep hand sanitizer nearby just in case. In any event, the overhead air vent can help keep germs away, so it's good to have some fresh air blowing in the stuffy cabin. Now, while your plane is taking off and landing, it's a must to stay seated. But actually, staying glued to your seat for the duration of the entire flight is more of a bad idea. You see, we all need our blood to circulate nicely around the body. Sure thing, you aren't supposed to walk to and fro, but standing up for some time is a good idea, especially if you have an aisle seat and there's no one to block your way. If you're blocked in the middle or window seat, just make sure to stretch your legs. We've chatted about this before. To protect your ears, it's best not to sleep at certain times on a plane. But here's another tip to keep your eyes happy too. Whenever you're flying, go for glasses instead of contact lenses. The dry air on airplanes can be super harsh on your eyes. If it's your first time flying, you might not realize how bad it can feel, and taking out your contact lenses mid-flight can be a real problem.
Let's face it, airports can be pretty annoying. But the most annoying thing about them is probably having to take the laptop out of your backpack and put it in a separate bin while going through the security check. But, of course, they wouldn't make us do those extra moves if there wasn't a good reason for it. Laptops are dense, and X-rays can't penetrate them, so it's easy to hide something dangerous there. If the device is out and on its own in a separate bin, it's easier for the scanners to capture something dangerous. Most airplanes are white. Is there a benefit to choosing this exact color? No, white paint doesn't make a place feel lighter. Neither does it save money on painting. Here are the actual reasons for the choice: safety, efficiency, and comfort. The first airplanes had a metallic color, but the problem with metal is that it's prone to corrosion, so painting it is a great way to protect an airplane from corrosion. White is favored for several reasons. First, planes fly high above the clouds and are exposed to sunlight a lot. White is the color that absorbs the least heat, and white planes get heated less. Also, sunlight makes the paint fade away. A colorful airplane will have its paint fade very fast and will require repainting. And repainting is costly, so painting aircraft white is a more lasting choice. Also, any damage is more easily noticed on a white surface. So that's one more point for the white color. We always board from the left side of the plane, every single time, no exceptions. For some reason, the right side just doesn't seem to be an option. Yes, that's done on purpose. First, the captain usually sits on the left. This way, it's easier for the pilot to align the plane with the terminal jet bridge. Also, aircraft are fueled and loaded with baggage on the right side. Since people board the plane from the left, the crew can do their job undisturbed, and there's no danger to passengers. Consistency with the choice of a side helps to make everything work more effectively. Since everyone always enters from the left, all jet bridges are designed to get attached to the left side of the airplane. If every airplane had the freedom to choose the side, it would create an additional mess for the logistics behind the process. There are more questions popping up, like what does this black triangle drawn above one of the windows mean? Apparently, it marks the seat from which the view of the airplane's wing is the best. It's needed for the crew to find the spot as fast as possible if, in case of an emergency, they need to inspect the engines, slats, or flaps. This mark saves a lot of time. Next, the rows aren't well aligned with the windows. This is business. Originally, all planes are designed with rows and windows lining up perfectly. But when an airline buys a jet, they add some additional seats, squeezing them closer together. This way, they have more seats, which means more passengers, so they can sell more tickets. But you get less space for your legs and might miss out on a window. Also, all windows have rounded corners, and this is done for safety reasons. There used to be planes with squared windows, but those caused crashes because such windows couldn't withstand high-altitude pressures. At high altitudes, external atmospheric pressure is lower than the pressure inside the cabin. So, there's a big difference in pressure inside and outside the airplane, and this creates stress. Without windows, this stress flows smoothly through the material. A squared window becomes an obstacle, and the flow of stress needs to change direction. The pressure builds up in the corners, leading to cracks. As a result, such windows break. Oval windows allow the stress to flow more smoothly without disrupting them too much and preventing stress concentration. So, oval windows are safer. The glass used in production is stretched acrylic glass, and there are 3 separate panes of it. This is done as a security measure in case there is a breach. This way, at least one pane will remain intact at all times. Have you ever noticed those small holes in the windows? The tiny hole is actually only in the pane that's in the middle. Its task is to regulate the huge pressure difference inside and outside the cabin. This way, the outer pane can handle the load. If the outer pane breaks, the middle one, even though there's a hole in it, will be able to keep the window intact. Also, that hole prevents the windows from fogging up. Now, let's say you want to relax and watch a movie. Luckily, there's a pair of headphones. But they're weird. They have a 2-pronged plug. No, this is not some kind of advanced technology. This is a witty move to prevent theft. If you can't use them anywhere else but on the airplane, no one will have the urge to snatch them away. Outside the airplane, they're basically useless. And then they bring food. There are people who love airplane food and people who aren't very fond of it. But most will agree that food does taste different in the air. Turns out, it's actually a thing. Low air pressure, lack of humidity, and background noise that we have at high altitudes change the functioning of our taste buds. They become less sensitive to sweet and salty foods, so airlines have to use more seasoning. Have you ever wondered what would happen if someone opened an airplane door accidentally? This wouldn't end well. It would be very dangerous to say the least. More specifically, soon there would be a lack of oxygen in the cabin. But gladly, no one can open that door accidentally. The pressure difference between inside and outside makes it almost impossible. It would take some immense strength to open it. The doors are designed to open on their own in case of an emergency. Speaking of safety, during takeoff and landing, the crew dims the light in the cabin. This is done for a good reason. This way, in case of emergency, you will see everything more clearly. Your eyes will get used to the darkness, and you'll have an easier time evacuating. Now, about pilots. They always wear those cool sunglasses, but the purpose is not to look cooler. They're used to protect the eyes. Throughout their career, pilots have to take care of their vision, but the problem is that it's not an easy task when you're a pilot.
The damaging solar radiation that our sun emits is filtered out by the Earth's atmosphere, so the sunlight isn't very damaging to you if you spend most of your time on the ground. But it's different up in the sky. There's less air there, and the brightness is way higher. And with every 1,000 feet of elevation, the solar radiation is around 5% stronger. On average, aircraft fly at an altitude of 35,000 feet. This means that the amount of UV radiation is 175% greater than on the ground. This is very damaging to any person's vision. The large amount of time pilots spend in the air makes them vulnerable to different eye problems. And having eye problems can cost a pilot their career. So, wearing sunglasses is a crucial thing for them, and these sunglasses must be of the best quality. They should minimize the impact of sunlight and withstand UV rays, providing 100% protection for the eyes. Also, they can't be polarized, since polarization can mess with the perception of the cockpit displays. They should provide the best clarity, decrease eye fatigue, and minimize color deformation, so that pilots can see just like they would without their sunglasses on.